All righty. Here we go.
Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer. We'll be back in 2 and 2
Oh,
belches.
no.
He needs a break to get rid of.
I don't know why that happened, but it's all good.
It's time. Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer is on your radio, your device, your tablet, your everywhere. Sit back and let Scott take you down the rabbit hole of beerdom.
Know your role and shut your mouth because the people's champ is ready to talk.
Here's Scott Fryer.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer. I am your host, Scott Fryer. This is episode number 24 of Just a Guy with a Beer, and I am at one of my favorite places in the whole entire state. We are at Willimantic Brewing Company in awesome Willimantic, historic Willimantic, Connecticut. And I have owner and beer master David Wollner of Willimantic Brewing. Dave, welcome to the show.
Scott, so good to meet you.
Yes, good, great to meet you finally, and great to see you, and great to be here. I know you're closed tonight, but we thank you for accommodating us and being able to open up your doors and have us in here and talk about the wonderful things you're doing here. Because you're not just known for your beer here. Your food here is fantastic as well. But we're going to talk about the beer. We're going to talk about the food. We're going to talk about all the cool things coming up. We'll talk about all the ridiculous restrictions that are being put in place on us right now. So hopefully people will watch this and they'll see what kind of great stuff and listen to it and hear what kind of great stuff you got going on. And they want to come down here, and if they've never been here before. So I know a lot of my viewers and listeners, at least the ones that are local here, they have been here before, and they were very excited about me coming here and talking about it. But my goal is to get other people that maybe haven't been to Willimantic and haven't been to Willibrew to come here and try your awesome beer and your awesome menu and see this fantastic place. It's very cool, and we'll talk about all that. So first of all, again, welcome. And I just want you to just tell everybody at home, listening and watching, how you got started. What drove you to want to be a brewer and open up a brewery? Now, because you didn't start off in this place, you guys had a couple places before.
That's true, and actually, it goes way back into my college days when I was going to UConn. I asked my brother if I could borrow his credit card and buy a mail-order homebrew kit.
Nice.
Came from Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Showed up, plastic bucket, cans of extract, corn sugar, everything you need to make beer. And I made some beer with it. A buddy of mine also got a kit at the same time. We found out that Champlain's General Store in Eagleville sold homebrew supplies.
Eagleville. Where's
so
Eagleville?
it's right on the outskirts of stores.
Okay.
Route 32 North.
Okay.
It takes you to Eagleville. They even have their own dam.
I've been there. I've been all the way up that way, but I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, it was a great little general store. You'd walk in, she was always making cookies and things, but homebrew supplies, which otherwise I didn't know where to get them.
Right.
So I found out that they have an annual homebrew competition every fall at their house. So I brought some of my beers, and I'm watching them judge the other people's beers. They're popping the corks or popping the caps, and they're pouring them, and they're holding them up, and they're sniffing them, and making their little notes and tastes. And then I see them get to one of mine. Of course, I knew it was one of mine because it was an old Molson bottle. I didn't take the label off.
Right.
But I'd never been to a competition before. So I see them pour it. I'm like, oh, look, it's got head. That's good. Yay, it's carbonated. And then I see them do the sniff, and they take their taste, and they make their little notes. Well, the beer was horrible. And what I found out was that if you follow the kit's instructions, which was basically, pour the extract into a pot of water, boil it, cool it, add some more sugar to it, pitch some yeast, and then you have beer, it's not going to come out good.
No. That actually sounds horrible.
Well, it seems easier than it is.
Right.
So I asked them for some pointers, and they said, well, first of all, you want to use 2 cans of extract. Don't add the sugar. You need to boil it this amount of time. You need to add extra hops. You need to rehydrate your yeast, all these other things.
Right. So I'm going to hold it just 1 second, Dave. I'm going to move your microphone. Someone said they're having a hard time hearing you. So just put. That,
All right.
that might work better.
Any better?
I think so. So if that's better, if you guys can hear better, give us a thumbs up. But I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. So then the next 3 years, I won their homebrew competition.
Nice.
And I was bitten by the bug at that point that I wanted to make beer. Not for a living.
Right.
But I just wanted to keep
You
making
wanted to brew it, yeah.
So time goes on, I keep home brewing, and in 1987, there was the Microbrewers Conference, which part of the Brewers Association. They had their conference in Boston, and I attended, drove up every day, and met the guys that opened up the Hartford Brewery, Phil and Les, met Jim Cook from Samuel Adams, met the Slezzer brothers that did Boston Beer Works, Catamount was there, Anchor Steam was there,
Nice.
Grossman was there for Sierra Nevada. There was only about 60 breweries represented and some of the equipment manufacturers. I actually gave Jim Cook my resume and said, if you're going to sell beer in Connecticut, I want to be your guy.
Yeah.
Kind of laughed at it. but- So
Who's laughing now?
so fast forward, I keep home brewing, and I end up getting married in 1990. And my wife at the time, she wanted to have a pub, and I wanted to make beer. So we opened up a deli in the old Capitol Theater here in town in the first floor. And we were serving gourmet ice cream, gourmet coffee before every gas station had decent coffee. I mean, this was before the whole Seattle wave came across.
Right.
We made fresh salads, sandwiches, but we were just kind of a breakfast lunch place. I kept home brewing, thought about trying to put the brewery in that building, but it wasn't going to work. Started to go to these brewing conferences all over the country, trying to learn more about what it would take to open a brewery. And in 1994, another restaurant had closed across the street, 877 Main Street, and we moved in there and became a craft beer bar in the the spring of '94, and we served 20 taps.
That's a lot, even for then.
And it was all American beer because we were
That's
called
great.
Main Street Cafe,
Right.
and we were going to continue that theme of only American beer, for
That-
its freshest.
And that's a lot of beers for 1994. Finding 20 beers that weren't like, what did you have? A lot of like local?
So I
or-
did. So
yeah.
as a matter of fact, New Haven Brewing, we had 4 of their beers on tap. Their Blackfoot Stout. We had their Elm City Lager. We also had Shipyard. We had a good relationship with Shipyard, so we had their Goat Island Light, and we had Old Thumper when it was available. Wharf Rat Ale. It was so much fun. Sierra Nevada, of course, always had pale ale. That was always my favorite beer.
Yes.
That's actually like my introductory to American craft beer was Sierra Nevada.
Nice.
My favorite brewery. I'm the Willimantic.
Yeah, they're good. They're good stuff. Yeah.
So I kept home brewing, and we thought we were going to put the brewery in that building, but it had apartments above, and trying to put a little 3-barrel system in wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I didn't own the building. But we had talked to the town about buying the post office, and because they owned it at the time. And they gave us paperwork about this thick of what we had to fill out. They said, you're going to have to jump through all these hoops because breweries aren't allowed in the town. You got to petition for this and that. So we kind of started looking at other towns. In Norwich, actually, and New London were 2 of the towns that we were pretty hot to go to.
Right.
In
The old
Norwich-
post office in Norwich?
Well, it wasn't the post office, but we looked at the like your Flatiron building down
Yeah.
there.
Okay. Yep.
Down by the train tracks, there's the old train station.
Yes.
Turner and Stanton Mill over in Norwich down there.
yep.
So we looked at a lot of properties, and they were very accommodating to try to bring us in. And I still kept trying to pursue things here in town. The old mills here in town, almost had a deal signed with them, but it had so much state money in it that would have required us to spend a lot more trying to build it out.
Right.
We were only developing one part of the building, or one part of the site, so they said there may be times they have to close the parking lot down or turn the power off. I said, you can't do that. Once we're open, we need to be open.
But especially you don't want to lose power if you're in the middle of a brew cycle,
No,
right?
losing power is usually never good.
It's not a good thing, yes.
So, we kept looking and looking, and meanwhile, local business owners, the DeVivos, they owned Willimantic Waste Paper. They were regular customers of ours at 877 Main Street. And they ended up purchasing this building for a little over $20,000. And we struck a deal with them to help them renovate and move the brewery and become a brewery restaurant here. About a month or so after we signed the lease and got things going, Mr. DeVivo passed away. And his wife was left with the task of trying to help finish the project and also run her business. So things got delayed. It took a lot of time, but she had hired this woman contractor to do all the stripping of the wood, right, because it's English white oak in the pub, and then even in this room here, the postmaster's office. So everything was hand stripped. She did a beautiful job renovating as much as they could. And then we came in and outfitted it to be a restaurant and brewery. So they bought the building on Valentine's Day in 1996, and we opened up February 8th, 1997.
Wow. And listen, if you've never been here, and it's cool. I did not know this room that we're in doing the show right now was the old postmaster's office. So this is kind of cool. It's a pretty big room. I mean, there's a safe over in the corner, and the ceilings are, 15, 20-foot high ceilings. So, it's amazing in here. It's pretty cool.
It's a cool room. Initially, as I said, it was the postmaster's office. There's a bathroom in it. And we were going to use it as our own office, and we realized that's foolish. I mean, we're never going to be in the office.
Right.
So it became a nice private dining room space.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And it is the only safe that we've left in the building.
Really? It's cool. It's a giant, it's like another room.
Well, the funny story about it was, we had to figure out how to build a restaurant from a post office space. There's stairs that go down to the kitchen. Those weren't there. They had to be cut out and then placed. In a sense, we removed 10 to 12 inch thick slabs of concrete,
right,
to cut out to drop stairs in.
Wow.
Because otherwise there was a spiral staircase that went from the basement to the roof, and then one other small staircase that went down to the basement.
That's cool.
It wasn't outfitted to be a restaurant by any means.
Right, but then you guys did your modifications, and it turned out awesome, because this is definitely one of the more unique places, and that is why that's one of the best draws about, besides the beer and the food here. It's just the atmosphere here, and it's just so cool, like being here and knowing that this used to be a big post office, and what you guys did, and just the way it's set up. It's very cool.
Even when we were renovating, we never even found a stamp. When they cleaned it out,
they cleaned it out. Right. So awesome. Yeah, we had a beer before. It was fantastic. It was an ale, and we're going to talk about that. We're coming up on a commercial break here, but definitely we are here at Willimantic Brewing Company in Willimantic, Connecticut. 967 Main Street.
That's it.
In Willimantic, Connecticut. And this is Just a Guy with a Beer, episode number 24. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about things that are going on currently here at Willibrew. You're watching Just a Guy with a Beer.
Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer. We'll be back in 2 and 2 belches. He needs a break to get rid of the gas. More of Just a Guy with a Beer coming up. If you're in the market for a used vehicle at a great price, head over to GNS Auto Sales in Franklin, Connecticut and take a look at their great selection. BMW, Audi, Dodge, Chevy, Ford, and so much more. And whether it's an oil change, brake repair, or the check engine light, let Pat, Wendy, and their team of professionals take care of all your automotive needs. That's GNS Auto Sales located in Franklin, Connecticut. Give them a call at 860-383-0050 or find them on the web at www.gnsautosales.llc.com.
Have you got a taste for exquisitely crafted beer and pub grub with a foodie flair? Then These Guys Brewing Company on Franklin Street in Norwich, Connecticut has got what you're craving. Enjoy a variety of classic and unique craft beers brewed on site and indulge in a delicious meal with seasonal dishes from their scratch kitchen. And check them out on Facebook or online at theseguysbrewing.com to stay up to date with their freshest brews, current menu, and upcoming events. These Guys Brewing Company, where it's all about good times, great food, and fantastic craft beer. Killfoot Clothing is the first 100% veteran sales team owned by 2 local Connecticut combat wounded veterans. Every garment is designed, printed, sold, handled, and shipped only by veterans. We source our products 100% made in the USA and believe if you have a flag on your shirt, that shirt should be made in the United States, period. Killfoot Clothing Company. American made, American proud.
All right. We're done with commercials for now. Now, more with Scott Fryer and Just a Guy with a Beer. Hey, he's back!
Welcome back to Just a Guy with a Beer, episode number 24. I'm with David Wollner of Willimantic Brewing. We are in the postmaster's office in the old post office building here, which is now Willimantic Brewing, and it's a very, very cool, very unique place. And again, if you haven't been here, it's at 967 Main Street in Willimantic, and it's a fantastic spot. And the beer is good. We're going to talk about that right now. You do have a bunch of guest taps, but so how many of your own beers do you have on tap right now?
Right now, I think we're up to 12. Because of being shut down, we don't go through beer as fast as we normally do.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we stop brewing. So we're still keeping the tanks full, and we're making fun beers, pretty much every week.
Yeah, and all your beers have pretty cool names. We had talked about that before we came on the air, but sometimes it's difficult to come on and make a new beer name. Like I just drank, before we came on, I had the Chaotic Aphotic, which was a dark ale, and it was, I'm telling you right now, that beer was good. And I was never a dark beer guy, but I guess over the last 3 or 4 months, actually since I've been doing the show, I've got to meet a lot of different people, and I've tried a lot of different beers. And I got out of my comfort zone because I was the hazy guy. I was the haze craze, as they were calling it. But a lot of people that I respect turn their noses up at those brewers, especially at your brewery, Jeanette. Jimbo and Rob are not a fan of the haze.
No, pretty much not many that are employed.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly.
That's not their favorite stuff.
So I had to kind of get out of my comfort zone and try different things. I like sours, but I really have started to like the darker ales and the stouts and the porters. And that Chaotic Aphotic is top 5 on the list of beers I've tried since I started this off in July. That's a very good job on that. So
and that was a new recipe. So with a new recipe, you need to come up with a new name.
Yeah, and
the
name's cool.
Out of postal names over all these years, 23 years.
It's hard to come up with them, right? You just start random name generators.
Well, that's just it. You start going through, and then you have to go on sites like Beer Advocate or Untapped to see if somebody else is already using it. I mean, when we started, it was pretty easy to come up with names like Postmaster IPA or
right.
Even Certified Gold, which is our flagship.
Yes. You had a red ale too.
Red was always popular.
Yes, red was that was the first beer I ever had that you guys made, the red beer and the red ale, and that's what made me fall in love basically with the local craft beer scene here.
So back when we opened in '97, I was learning on the job. I did hire a consultant to help me put the system in and to get it all built out. And I got a couple recipes from them. One of the consultants, though, is Horst Dornbusch, famous German brewer, lives over in Massachusetts, and he was also partially consulting on the site. So Certified Gold was Blair Potts. He was the main consultant I hired. I tweaked the recipe a little bit, but it's basically his recipe. The guy's actually allergic to hops, and he got out of the brewing industry because of that. But he was the head brewer at New Haven Brewing way back.
Now, what did they I've never heard of them.
So I don't remember when they closed, but they were one of the early breweries in the state, along with New England Brewing, where Ron Page and Phil Markowski used to work together, and that was down in Norwalk.
Yeah.
And then Phil split off and went and did other things. Ron stayed for a little while, and then Ron went over to New Haven Brewing and hired various people to do the brewing, and he stepped away and got hired by a company that built brewing systems. I'll just leave it at that. But so New Haven Brewing, they were a brewery only, and then they decided to open up a restaurant on site. And when they did that, most of the New Haven bars and restaurants stopped carrying their beer.
Right.
Because they were now in direct competition.
So I used to be a I wouldn't say a regular, but I went a lot to a Richter's Pub in New Haven, right on the green there in New Haven. So I'm trying to think back if I ever had, and this was probably mid to early 90s, probably early mid 90s when I used to go there all the time. I lived in Brantford.
Yeah, I think that it might have been there still.
Richter's was there, and I'm trying to think back if I ever remember ever having a New Haven. So
they made some good beer. It was, and I'm sorry, I said Blackfoot Stout. It was Blackwell Stout.
Okay.
Of course, it had a dog on the label because every brewery has to have a dog.
Great.
So yeah, the whole brewing scene was so different back then. So when I started brewing, I did certain recipes throughout the year. Rail Mail Rye, my favorite pale ale recipe. Initially, it wasn't an American pale ale; it was a German red rye. But I adjusted the recipe after I went out to what's it in Healdsburg? Oh, Bear Republic.
Okay.
Bear Republic Brewery. I drank their Hop Rod Rye and said, "Ooh, I like this rye beer."
Yeah.
So
Rye's a good style. That's a
So
good
I
beer.
changed
Yeah.
our recipe, but most of the recipes I did back then would repeat 4 or 5 times a year. Gold every 2 weeks we'd be brewing it.
Right.
But Postmaster IPA, Rural Root Red, we'd brew them 3 or 4 times a year because we'd go through it. We'd wait a couple months and then people would ask for it and we'd bring it back. But over time, you get new hop varieties, I get new grain varieties. So then I'd start to expand my process and try to say, oh, let's make a sour. How do you do that?
Right.
Let's use sour malt and see what happens. And so I learn along the way as I come up with new recipes. And then, of course, new hop varieties and now new styles like the hazy craze. I'm not a super fan of lactose in my beers.
Yeah, me neither. My stomach is not a fan of lactose in my beers. I like it,
but again, sometimes it's small amounts.
Right.
Those pastry stouts that are out now with the caramel and the vanilla and the marshmallow.
No, I like it.
It's like,
I like it.
4 ounces is good.
It's good. It's good. But if you can't sit and drink an entire 4-pack. That's just way too much. But if I have like a half, I'll split one with somebody.
Yeah.
And then they're fine.
And isn't that what it's all about? Sharing.
Of course. So you may not know, you probably do because you follow me. I have a bunch of friends that we get together. We haven't gotten together because of the COVID stuff, but there's probably about 30 of us now, I think, that we call ourselves the Brew Tank Clan. And we get together. We used to get together once a month and do a share. So everyone bring like 6 beers. And didn't matter. There was no beer shaming. So we even had our buddy. We did kind of tease him about he used to drink Budweiser. He did that once. Said he didn't do it. We shamed him into it. And then he discovered Fat Orange Cat. So he started bringing. He liked the Fat Orange Cat. But we get together once a month, and we would have an enormous beer share. So we'd probably get maybe a half of the 30 guys would show up to a beer share. So even then, if each guy brings at least 6 beers, that's a lot of. That's almost 100 beers, and we're all sharing. We get to try a lot of different things at those things, and that's where you kind of discover the different styles of beer. Like I was never a sour fan until I started hanging out with all these guys and doing it because I always thought sours were gross. But then I had, I think it was Victory had the Golden Monkey sour.
Sour Monkey.
The Sour Monkey, and I was like, wow, how have I not
missed all that?
Yeah, I mean, how did I ever miss out on these beers? Are awesome. So I mean, now I'm going to segue right to that because you gave me one of this awesome can. First of all, nobody does 24-ounce cans, so kudos to you guys for going out. This is pretty cool. I like the 24-ounce can. I mean, who doesn't like this?
Exactly. It's 2 beers in one.
It is 2 beers in one. This one's called Overnight Sensation Sour, and it's a starfruit.
Yeah, stone fruit.
Stone fruit's sour, and you can see my glass here. It's got that pinkish hue, and it's excellent. It's done in like a traditional sour. You got a lot of these sours that are like smooth slushies.
Oh yeah.
You get a lot of these slushy sours that are really, really thick, like the Sky Gazer watercolor series. They're really thick, but this is like a traditional style sour. You get the fruit flavor, the sweetness, but then immediately you're right away getting the sour. So I appreciate this beer. It's an excellent beer. So I thank you for that one.
This is my assistant brewer James's concoction.
This is good.
He's been doing fun things at home and bringing me things to try. And we have now flock treatment.
Flock treatment.
Flock treatment on tap. That's our hazy beer.
Okay.
And I'll even drink it because it's not super sweet. It's not too juicy, but it's got nice hop flavors, nice texture to it. It's not heavy, and it's been very popular. So I'm happy that he's going and learning new things, and then he's teaching me.
That's good, right? Because I mean, that's a lot of guys don't want to do the hazy style, but that's what people like now.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of do a couple of them, like you guys do Good Old Tom. So everyone has to like people will come in and they will try it. It's just the market gets flooded with it. You know what I mean? It's like the IPAs. Everyone got the regular straight IPAs. The market got flooded with IPAs, and people drank them. But now it seems like that's kind of going away, and like the ales are making a comeback, and pilsners are making a comeback, which I like because that was like the original style of beer that I liked. So
it's first of all, there's beer for all seasons, all
yes.
reasons.
Right, a stout like the one we drank earlier, that's not a summer beer. Like the Chaotic Aphotic to me is not. I would not drink that in the summer.
It's. Do you drink iced coffee in the winter?
I could.
Okay.
So Jabina just chimed in. She said the pineapple sour she had on Sunday was awesome.
Oh, good.
So I would like to try that too. Maybe after the show we can. We might be able to have a couple sips of that. So yeah, this is again called Overnight Sensation Sour. It's a stone fruit, which I'd never even heard of. But whatever that is, it's really, really good. So this is very well done. Another awesome beer by the folks here at Willimantic Brewing. It's 967 Main Street. It's right on Route 32. You just take Route 32 right through the center of town. You can't miss it. It's a giant
limestone,
yeah, with the pillars, and you cannot miss it. It's decorated, and the Christmas lights are up, and it's really nice. So if you haven't been here, please get down here. We're going to talk about the other reason to come here too, because besides liking the beers, because my kids love coming here because they like the food here. We're going to talk about that too. The food here, especially your flatbreads. I'm a huge fan of. My wife is a huge fan of the flatbreads as well.
It's always so funny when people find their favorites.
Yes. So I have a couple of favorites that I'm going to throw at you after we're done. So we're coming up again. We're coming up on another commercial break, and then when we come back, you can tell us what you're going to drink. We're drinking over there because I see you got a can of beer over there.
I do.
So we'll see what. Jeanette Taylor's watching. Like from the other side of the room, my brand new assistant, Jeanette Taylor. She was my first guest, my first real guest on my show, way back in July. It seems like forever ago, right? Episode number 4, first female too.
And Jeanette's brewed here a couple of times.
Yes, So okay, cool. So when we come back, we're going to talk menu. You're listening and watching to Just a Guy with a Beer, right here.
All right.
Scott will be back in just a couple of minutes after he chugs this one down.
Hey, do you hear that? That's the sound of people getting together and having a good time. These are some of the sounds that you're gonna hear when you visit Epicure Brewing on Franklin Street in Norwich. Epicure is a craft brewery that wants you to experience friends, a lot of laughter, and of course, Epicure's craft beers on tap. Bring your friends or come down and make some new ones while enjoying the freshest quality beer in the area. Epicure Brewing is located at 40 Franklin Street, Norwich, right in the heart of the historic district of Norwich. Check out Epicure Brewing on the web at epicurebrewing.com, as well as finding them on Facebook. So come on down and add your voice to the sounds you hear in the background right now. Follow the hashtag Epicure Brewing for life.
Unify is a local full-service marketing and branding agency that helps your business strategize, develop, and implement a marketing plan using the best platforms and materials to connect you with the right customers quickly. Find them on Facebook at Unify CT or on Instagram at Unify_CT, or call Laura directly at 860-326-6003. Strategize, develop, and connect. That's Unify.
During the break, Scott was contemplating his life choices. I've done nothing with my life. Now back to Scott Fryer and Just a Guy with a Beer.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Just a Guy with a Beer, episode 24, coming to you live from Willimantic Brewing in the Postmaster's office. It feels super important now because I'm in the Postmaster's office. There's a huge giant safe back there. And all I can be thinking of is how many guns can I put in that safe back there? I only have one, so it would probably be a waste to put it back there. So now before we went on break, we were talking about sours, right? So we had a question about different ways to make sours. So can you just a little bit touch on that, because I do want to get to the awesome menu, guys.
Sure. So as I mentioned, when I first did one of my first sours, I used something called acidulated malt. It's sour malt, and a couple of ways of doing it. You can put it in with the rest of your mash with your barley, and they say 10 to 15% is about as much as you want to do. they're pretty much right about that. Because I ruined a beer. I was doing a Ned Flanders Red when the Simpsons were celebrating their 20th anniversary.
I love it. I love it.
And I used like 45%.
You could have called it like Oakley Dokley Ale or something.
Well, let's just say it didn't go well.
No.
And Zoc knows that we were brewing a homebrew competition winner, and we used a lot of rye and a lot of wheat in one of the beers, and we used some sour malt, and it changes the pH. So instead of having liquid, you have something that's like Vaseline. Very hard to extract liquid when it's thick on your fingers.
Yes, no, that's not
so
good.
that was a
That sounds kind of
beer
gross,
that never
actually.
went well. So there are the failures that do happen. You can use lactic acid, and then you can dose your finished beer with as much lactic acid as you deem to be necessary. Some people hang a bag of malt in their kettle overnight with it partially in, and the beer will start to naturally sour. I've done overnight mashes where I've done a barley wine and then let the mash sit overnight for a day or two. It starts to smell like a dead body. You know it's pretty good at that point. And then you can get a sour second runnings beer. So there's a lot of options. And there's lactoplantarum, which is something you would take for your digestion, helps with your microflora.
Oh.
And you can just put that in your kettle and keep it around 110 degrees, and usually within 36 hours you have a much lower pH. So that's the thing, you're actually not fermenting the beer.
Right.
What you're doing is you're changing the pH. So you bring the pH down, which is what causes it to be sour. Then you brew the beer as you would normally make the beer. You have to boil it, hop it if you're gonna hop it, add whatever other ingredients. So all you're really doing is adjusting the pH of your wort.
And you mentioned now, briefly you touched on barley wine. So
Yes, Willy Whammer.
yes, I used to not be a barley wine person. I had a barley wine one time, and it was Sierra Nevada barley wine, and I was very turned off by barley wine. Now, having a bottled barley wine and then going and having a fresh barley wine are a completely different experience, because I had a barley wine from Fox Farm recently, and it was in the bottle. It was in a bottle, the bomber, and it was fresh, and it was fantastic. And I'm like, why did I hate this so much? So what is the difference for someone who may not know? What is the difference between like a sour and a barley wine?
Well, big difference, though there are sour barley wines.
Yeah.
So my recipe for barley wine, the Willy Whammer, I use English floor malted barley, Maris Otter, some biscuit, and a little bit of wheat. And you use a lot of grain and you use less water. So you end up with more concentrated wort or sugars and less volume. I like mine to get to be between 9 and 10%, usually not much more than that.
Right. Because if you had a barley wine, if you never had a barley wine, the first time you take a sip of it, you're like, what the hell is this?
But again, so every brewer is going to have their own version.
Right.
I like mine to be more of an English style, so I use English hops, English malt. Bigfoot from Sierra Nevada, it's an American barley wine.
That was the one I had.
They
It was
put
not.
a ton of hops in it.
Yeah,
so
see.
when it's young, it's got a strong bitterness character
Right.
to it. It's still malty, it's got the alcohol, but as it ages, it's wonderful. I've collected Bigfoot barley wine logs or kegs over the years. And
They still make it?
Oh yeah.
I have to go try. I have to try. I'm gonna give it another shot. Because you said that, I'm gonna give it another
I
shot.
age them, and then we will break them out and do verticals. Now, every year we do a vertical of the Willy Whammer. So on Christmas, New Year's Eve, we'll have 2018, 2019, and 2020 on tap. And you can get a Whammer sampler. You can
Right.
try each one and see how the beer ages and how it does change.
That's interesting, and I really am going to try that Bigfoot again because
So,
it gave me a different perspective.
So
on
again,
it.
going according to styles, so you'd start off with something called, like, most of the terminology is English. So you have an English mild and then a bitter, and they're two different styles, but they're still low in alcohol. And then you go to a pale, and then an extra pale, and then an India pale.
Right.
And English IPAs are 6% or under typically, where American IPAs kind of start around 6%. And then you'd go to an Imperial IPA, and that's typically about the high alcohol, like a triple IPA or
Right.
something. Barley wines don't typically, again, English style, don't add as many hops to it. So that's why it could be just as strong as an Imperial IPA, but it wouldn't have the bitterness character.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely get a different flavor from a barley wine than you would with just like a triple IPA or a regular ale. So,
But again, depending on who the brewer is.
right, everyone's going to be different.
So I'm a traditionalist on certain styles, and then I'm all over the place on other things.
But that makes it unique. That's what makes your beer
that's
unique.
why you can have a brewery in every town.
Right.
Because everybody has their own way of making something.
Yes. And
There
I
should
listen.
be a brewery in every town.
I've never had a beer that I didn't finish. Right, so I wouldn't be like, oh well, I don't like this.
Well, then you're still too young.
Yeah. I mean, I go out there and I see how much, and especially now as I've been doing this, I hear the people talk about it, how much energy and how much effort they put into doing this. So part of me feels bad if I don't like something to not finish it. So I feel like obligated because they put so much work into, it's not easy to do this. And when you go out there and you have a beer that maybe is not as good as maybe other beers you had, you finish it out of respect.
Okay.
So
I would tip my hat if I was wearing one.
yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with.
I'd say you're a bigger man than I am,
Yeah.
but I only mean that in a positive way.
So before we move on, I definitely want to talk about the menu.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about the event that you guys have going on right now, but I want to talk about your menu real quick. Your menu is very diverse. It's not a huge menu.
It used to be bigger,
Yes.
and then when we shut down, we shaved it down.
But it's good.
We
It's
still
good.
have a lot of the fan favorites.
My favorites are still in there. First of all, of course, the Griswold potato skins are my favorite for obvious reasons. But I am a fan of the LA Smog pizza.
I put that on the menu because when I used to work up in stores, I would go to Willimantic Pizza.
Yes.
And Jeff did a great job with his place, and I've known him since all the years that he's been open, which is, 30 years now. And I would get spinach, mushroom, onion, and garlic on one of his pizzas.
Right.
And then I said, we got to do that here.
Right.
So we do, and it's popular.
It's
I
good.
I like to add protein, like blackened chicken too, and blackened shrimp. That's always good.
So,
But that is my favorite pizza.
yeah, that sounds. That's my favorite flatbread, and that's one of the things. And also, like the poutine is banging here.
And the poutine's kind of new. We've only had that for, a year or so.
Yes. Last time I came here, I had it, and it was.
But my chef Will, his wife's from, she's French Canadian, so
Canadians do. That's one thing they do
you got to
good.
bring the cheese down, and
They do
then
the
next thing you
poutine.
know, we got poutine on the menu.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm happy with that.
Again, that's another thing. I've never had a bad poutine. Like even when you go to the fair, like you go to like the.
You'll just finish anything, won't you?
I will. It's the Navy guy in me. I feel bad. Right?
Exactly.
Or my mom, who's watching right now. Hi, mom and dad. There's kids in Africa that are starving, so you're like feel obligated to eat this. I'm like, man, some kid's starving right now. Wishes he had this poutine. I'm gonna finish it.
All right.
So yes, I will finish pretty much anything. I know how much effort if people put into these things. So again, it's a respect thing. But I don't like putting people on the spot and calling people out either. So there are beers that I don't favor.
Yeah, of course.
Like I won't drink again, but I finished the one I
Yeah,
had.
there's styles of beer that I'm not super fond of, but
Yes.
if it's well made, I'll appreciate it for sure.
Yes, totally. And because again, you're in the business, so you know a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into these things. Just coming up with the recipes.
Exactly.
Not everybody can do this. Like you can order the home brew kit like you did and make a terrible beer.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can do that, but it's the desire and the love and the hard work and the sweat equity you put in
Well, and then
that makes
again,
you successful
in
like you
today
are.
now, there's so much information available, but still, you can order things online, but until you actually meet somebody that knows what they're doing, like when I went to that competition and they told me what to do, it's like going to Zach's homebrew store, and he can tell you because that guy's won more medals than anybody.
Just
in
the
the
guy
world.
with a beard with Scott Fryer.
Hate to
We'll be
cut you
back
off. We're going to go to
in
commercial. We'll
2
be right back
belches.
with more of David Wollner at
Great
Willimantic
to
Brewing.
get
Sorry.
rid of gas. More of Just a Guy with a Beer coming up. If you're in the market for a used vehicle at a great price, head over to GNS Auto Sales in Franklin, Connecticut and take a look at their great selection. BMW, Audi, Dodge, Chevy, Ford, and so much more. And whether it's an oil change, brake repair, or the check engine light, let Pat, Wendy, and their team of professionals take care of all your automotive needs. That's GNS Auto Sales located in Franklin, Connecticut. Give them a call at 860-383-0050 or find them on the web at www.gnsautosales.com. gnsautosales.llc.com.
Mr. Beardo Beard Oils and Tattoo Juice are the highest quality, no BS oils on the market. All hand and homemade to meet the specific needs of everyone's beard and ink. Just a guy with a beard personally uses both of these products. I can tell you that my ink has never looked better and my beard is fuller, thicker, and healthier than ever. Get your beard pumping and your tattoo popping with Mr. Beardo Beard Oils and Tattoo Juice. Find them on the web at www.mrbeardo.com. Killfoot Clothing is the first 100% veteran sales team owned by 2 local Connecticut combat wounded veterans. Every garment is designed, printed, sold, handled, and shipped only by veterans. We source our products 100% made in the USA and believe if you have a flag on your shirt, that shirt should be made in the United States, period. Killfoot Clothing Company. American made, American proud. Have you got a taste for exquisitely crafted beer and pub grub with a foodie flair? Then These Guys Brewing Company on Franklin Street in Norwich, Connecticut has got what you're craving. Enjoy a variety of classic and unique craft beers brewed on site and indulge in a delicious meal with seasonal dishes from their scratch kitchen. And check them out on Facebook or online at theseguysbrewing.com to stay up to date with their freshest brews, current menu, and upcoming events. These Guys Brewing Company, where it's all about good times, great food, and fantastic craft beer.
During the break, Scott was contemplating his life choices. I've done nothing with my life. Now back to Scott Fryer and Just a Guy with a Beer.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Just a Guy with a Beer, episode number 24. We are with David Wollner of Willimantic Brewing. We were talking different styles of beer. We spent a lot of time talking about the sours. We got derailed by my brand new assistant. I'm having to rethink this. She derailed us during the break. So we did talk about the menu. You said you had a smaller menu now because of the COVID restrictions. And speaking of the COVID restrictions, I know there was a lot of restaurant and bar owners that went to the governor's mansion today, and they placed over 600 napkins on the lawn of the governor's mansion that represented each restaurant or bar that has closed down in the state of Connecticut since the COVID restrictions started. Now, we have a lot more, I don't know if we're more restricted than New York, because they just closed all indoor dining.
Exactly. And we're definitely not as restrictive as California.
We are not. Well, and I heard their governor's getting recalled, by the way. So stay tuned to see what happens there. So, but we have some pretty ridiculous rules. And I don't know what goes on in the governor's life. I don't know where his head is at. But do have so many people here, like you, David, that are out here working hard every day. This is your life. This is your livelihood. This is your how you make your money.
Well, it's the community's livelihood.
It is, because you rely on the community. The community relies on you.
Exactly. And that's in every community.
Exactly. You could talk about one
everywhere.
place. Exactly. In every town that you go to, there's one or two places.
There's no doubt that this, pandemic, it's destroying lives all over the world.
It is. And it's not just because
people getting sick.
Exactly.
But it's truly destroying, any confidence that you have and be able to make a living, carry on for your children. It's horrible. And I don't think anybody really, you've seen the movies in the past about, there's going to be a pandemic and it's going to ruin things. Nobody ever really understood how it could be this devastating.
It's more than just getting sick. It's the, like you said, it's the economic part. And we can go into the mental health aspects of it, especially with the kids not being able to go to school, not being able to participate in sports. But it's the people out here like you guys and Epicure, my friends at Epicure, my friends at These Guys, and my friends at 86. They're struggling because they rely on the community to come in and sponsor them. Not sponsor, but to come and eat, support them, and they eat there, and they come and they have drinks. Because now you can't even have a drink unless you're eating something. Because if you want to just go to the bar and have a beer, well, nope, I have to go have a hot dog, right? Rob hooks me up with a fantastic Epicure hot dog. Now, I heard there's new ones, though. Sour cream and onions.
That's when Ken is running.
Yes, Ken's. No thanks. I'm all set on that.
When Ken is running the full-on hot dog.
Yeah, no.
See, now I got to come down soon.
No, I'm all set on that. That sounds
Let me
gross.
know when Ken's working.
My buddy Pat puts marshmallow fluff on hot dogs. That's disgusting.
Why not?
No.
We have fun.
No.
It's a dessert dog.
No, I'm all set.
It's like a devil dog.
Nope. I'm all set. But I mean, listen,
Not quite.
you guys have to do what you have to do. You know, I said earlier, even on my Facebook, that my wife and I went to a restaurant last night in Southington, and they made us wait in the car till our reservation, and it was, we weren't within a couple feet, more than a few feet of somebody at any time. The staff had the masks on. There was constant hand washing stations. The sanitizing. They took us right to our table. All the tables were minimum 6 feet apart. If not, they would say they were probably more. But I didn't feel at any time that I feel like I was unsafe. And when I go to Epicure, and I go there a lot, their bar tops their high top tables are spaced out pretty far, but they're just a brewery. They don't have a restaurant. They don't have a restaurant a kitchen in their place. These guys have a kitchen in their place. So it's kind of easier I wouldn't say easier, but a place like Epicure has to be more creative than some place like you guys, where you can do the food because it's part of your That's part of your thing here, right?
That's our current license. Our new license is transitioning into one more like theirs,
right?
Because in the wisdom of trying to streamline licensing, which made a lot of sense, some details got shoveled and pushed around. So we're a brew pub, which is no longer going to be around. So now I have to apply for 2 permits, one for manufacture of beer, which I was already doing. The second one is for restaurant liquor for on-premise, so I can serve beer, wine, cider, distilled spirits from other states, or even Connecticut, and serve food.
That's another way of the state government reaching into your pocket.
Well, I think, there was good intentions, but again, there's factions on all sides.
Right.
So some people don't want to see breweries not have to serve food and still serve people. They think if you're a brewery, just serve beer and that's all you should be because that's what you are. But so that's where the restriction of saying now you have to serve food when you didn't have the setup to do it is not just cumbersome, but certain cities, the health department's a little bit more lenient.
Right.
Other ones they're not.
I think what got a lot of people off guard and what a lot of people have an issue with, and I'm one of them, is they thought that when they come out with these rules, let's say a few weeks ago, they came out with these rules. They put the rule out on the Wednesday morning. And they said, well, how long do we have to comply with this? We're like, today.
Right.
Right. They didn't give them any warning. They're just like, okay, you have to do this, and you're
doing
doing it all
today. That was the biggest problem
today.
when they shut us down in March. If they told me a week before, the Monday before the 16th, that we're going to be closing everything down, so don't buy 450 pounds of corned beef and cook it for St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
Don't order cases of Jameson's and bring in Guinness and stock up your refrigerator and freezer for a busy weekend and week that comes up. So that was the real hardship. That,
Right.
A month after we're shut down, all these invoices come due and we're closed.
And how are you paying for these things,
Well,
right?
again, if you want to maintain your credit,
Right.
you got to pay.
Yeah. It's not good.
And my biggest thing right now is I don't understand 2 things. I think that if you're a brewery and you didn't serve food before and you didn't have to, but people could bring their own food, that should be sufficient.
100%, yes.
I get it that if you think that having potato chips on site isn't maybe enough, a substantial thing, but if people can order food from local restaurants, which supports the local economy, helps out the poor restaurant that's not doing enough business because they can't seat 50% of their seats or more. So give them a reason to sell some to-go food.
Right.
And then help the brewery out so everybody wins that way.
Yeah. Like I would go to Epicure and they don't have a kitchen, but I'd like to go there and I would go around the corner and get Listella's. Their food is fantastic. Or I'd go grab a sandwich at Philly's and I'd bring it over there and drink my awesome Epicure beer and I would have an awesome sandwich from Listella's or Philly's.
Right. So
but now I can't do that. Now that's not sufficient.
You're doing what they're requiring you to do, which is eat while you drink.
Yes.
You're willing to do that.
Yes.
You're doing it in a way that's beneficial for everybody.
And I'm helping 2 people instead of just 1.
Exactly. That's where I think you said that it gets a little misguided.
Yes.
And you can't blame legislators. You can't blame the governor. It's just everybody talks in everybody's ear, and you don't want to piss off people, so you try to ride the middle. But as you know, if you ride in the middle, you're really not going anywhere.
Correct. Someone's always going to be upset with you. So I get that, but things have to change. Hopefully things get better. Now the vaccine's here in Connecticut. So hopefully things will get better for everybody, not just...
It has to get better.
It has to, eventually.
There's
Because I don't want to wear a mask the rest of my life.
It's disappointing that, the government hasn't been able to pass another stimulus package.
Right.
That's hurting everybody.
Well, the $1,200 has lasted us, 8 months, right? Supposed to last you 8 months, so...
and I feel bad. We had to lay off, a lot of people.
Yeah. Other countries, the governor does something, they don't like something he says, they throw rocks through his window and Molotov cocktails. Here we're just like, oh, $1,200, cool, thanks. 8 months later. So anyway, hopefully this all comes up and this eventually will go away. We get back to some semi-normalcy. But right now we're in the Christmas season. So that means people are watching Christmas movies continuously. Not a Lifetime, because that's garbage. Nobody watches Lifetime. Right? Hallmark Channel, go away. We're talking about like purebred Christmas movies, like, for instance, Die Hard. The greatest Christmas movie ever made. Because people say, that's not a Christmas movie. Well, if that's not a Christmas movie, then Home Alone's not a Christmas movie. Home Alone is about some kid who terrorizes two guys that try to break in his house. It just happens to be around Christmas. Well, when does Die Hard happen? It happens on Christmas Eve, right? The Nakatomi Tower happens, that terrorist attack happens on Christmas Eve. Because that's where John McClane was on his way home to see his wife for Christmas.
It's true.
It's a Christmas movie. It is the greatest Christmas movie. But if I had to pick a pure Christmas movie, I have to go with Christmas Vacation.
National Lampoon.
Yeah? How about you? You're a Christmas Vacation guy, or?
I love all the Lampoon movies anyway.
Oh, of course. Any of the vacation movies were fantastic. Even Vegas Vacation, because it had some good laughs. It wasn't the best of them, but it was still good. It's probably the number 4 on the list of the vacation movies. The Christmas Vacation is right there. But I had some really good, like, some people like the Scrooge movies, the original with George C. Scott or Alistair Cook. That was really good. That was good.
Ago.
Yeah. I got some Scrooge with Bill Murray, a great Christmas movie.
I did like
one of my
that,
favorites.
yeah.
Yep. Home Alone's another one. The Muppets Christmas movie, Muppets Christmas Carol is a good one. Anything with the Muppets, I'm watching it. Yes. Well, yes. But that's a good one too. And then I liked. We talked about Christmas specials last week, so like the Muppets Christmas special was my favorite. The In Honor of George Bank Christmas is the greatest. Yeah, it's the best. So whatever it is, enjoy it. Enjoy your family. I know things were different this year, but you know what? This is America. We'll get through it, man. We're resilient people, and we'll get through it all. And eventually, we'll come out smelling like roses, like we always do. And no matter who's in charge, we just got to support whatever the government's doing, and we have to know they have our best interests. At least think they have our best interests at heart. So
I do believe that.
I do too. I'd like to believe that. But we'll see, because whoever it is there is in charge, it's gonna be. That's the guy we're listening to, and we'll support him. So being in the military, I didn't get a choice of who my captain was, but no matter what my captain said, I had to go do it. Same thing with the president. You made your choice. You didn't win. Oh, well, see you in 4 years. But support the guy that's there. So, David, I really appreciate you having us on. We're coming to a close. Willimantic Brewing, 967 Main Street, Willimantic, Connecticut. I thank you for the time. I thank you for the hospitality.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you to my brand new assistant, Jeanette Taylor. She's awesome. Until next time, guys, I'll see you next week. Super cool guest next week. Please be safe, be healthy, and don't beer shame your friends. This is Just a Guy with a Beer.
Thank you, everybody. Be healthy. Happy holidays. And Willibrew crew, you're the best.
You've been listening to Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer. Check out Scott Fryer next time over most of these same radio stations for conversation, information, intelligence, and lots more beer. See you next time on Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer.
Okay, bye. Stop making noise.
It's time.